Okay then, another day and another little project we're going to work on. Today we're going to put a new rear strut assembly, new used rear strut assembly on this 2000 Q45. This is the same as 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. I've already pulled a used one out of the junkyard. New ones are hellaciously expensive for these cars, and this one back here on the right is busted, so completely no good, so it's got to come off there. And this car has the adjustable suspension, means it's kind of got some valving in the shocks to alter the well, let me say that a different way. It's got adjustability on the valving of the shocks. You got sport and you got automatic, so suffice to say that it's electronic. And we're going to go away from that. We've got a regular base model strut here. I'm not going to put on the electronic strut because I can't find one used. So, but anyway, we're going to launch into this and give you a little slight demonstration. If you can see here, push this side down, it just goes down and just barely moves. This side here, the other hand, it bounce. So first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to remove this trim panel in here. I know people say you have to take the back seat out and you have to take that deck trim out and all that. You don't have to do that. I've already taken one out. It's not necessary. So the Infiniti purist will tell you that's how you have to do it, but you don't. You're going to take this trim out. You've got these little, hard to see in here, especially if I don't point at it. Where am I? There we go. Got these 4 of these little Phillips looking these things. You just take those out. 4 of those across. Take the last one out. Keep those together somewhere. Anyway, and then you're gonna have to, up here, you can see this, you've got like a little latch of a thing that holds it up there, and you got one here. Just pull it down. One here, of course. There's at least 4 of those. And you just pull this thing down carefully. Try not to tear it up. It might help you to pull it out at the bottom first. There we go. Now, surprise, surprise, there's your gas tank on one of these. So let's take this over for safekeeping. Make sure we got this all disconnected here. Take this over for safekeeping. We've had some wet weather today. I wonder if there's going to be somebody that is what they've been doing. So, oh, you wasted 2 minutes of our time walking that over to the garage. Do not understand that. I still get people do this. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do it? Film it like that? Blah, 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 blah. So there's the fuel tank, and there's something somebody's done to hook a stereo. Had a stereo in here. I'm not going to mess with that. But anyway, right up there in the, get your light on. Now you should have had your light right there so you could just picked it up and not leaned over to your tool bag. If you look right there, that, first of all, you got a bar that goes across right here, ties in both sides. It's 2 12mm nuts, which may or may not need to be loosened. I loosened them on a junkyard car and it seemed to make it easier to get the strut out, but that's the strut tower right there you're looking at, and you're gonna have a cover. I'll take it off here. You got some pipes and stuff for the fuel tank you need to be careful with, but a little rubber cover under here, which It's gonna need to be moved out of the way. And oh, the sensor is hanging loose. How about that? And what that tells us. Let me get your light back on you. See that guy there? That's normally supposed to be on the top of the strut. So somebody has, looks like they broke the strut or something, or they took that thing off and okay, that bears some looking at. You see right, let me see if I can get you in there. That's the top of the strut right there, and that thing I just showed you is supposed to be attached to it. So let me look at that. I wonder if that's got something to do with the strut not working anymore. Okay, back in the jiff. Next thing I've done is I've loosened all 5 lug nuts up with the wheel still on the ground. Those are 21 millimeter and they are on there tight. So the next thing you want to do after this is you want to get a jack and jack it up and put the car on a jack stand with a jack under it. Never get under it without a jack stand under it securely. Let's just do that now. Like so. I jacked the car up on a secure spot right here where the suspension connects to the body of the car, the frame, and then I put my jack stand under the frame rail right there. And now we're going to go ahead and pull these lugs and pull the wheel, and that'll give us access to the bottom strut bolt. See you then. Okay then, wheel is off and I've loosened up my lower strut mounting bolt, which is here, right there, and it's a 17 and it's just easy to get off unless your car's been up north, may not be. So I made a slight tactical error when I was at the junkyard pulling the other one off. I went and took this one off first, took it all the way out and let it just hang, and it was kind of hard to get it out the top. So I mean by that, I mean it was hard to get it's just 2 studs that stick up in there, and they got 12 millimeter bolts up in there, and that's what you take loose at the top. Don't take the center nut off. You know what I always say about struts? Don't touch the center nut when you're taking it out of the car. Don't ever touch it. You do that later if you're just changing the springs off of it, so don't touch it. So anyway, this time I'm going to leave this loose so it's not hanging by these up here, because it kind of act like it kind of bound up. Yeah, somebody got on to me in another video recently. I had the gall to get on to me because they got up from the table and went and got something and came back. Well, I turned the camera off. You should have turned that camera off when you got up, and you should have turned it back on when you got back to the table. By gosh, our time is worth a lot, even though you made this video for free. So what we got going in there, you can't really see very well, but I'll show you the other one so you know what you're going to look at. You just have these two. These take the 12 millimeter bolts and they're sticking up inside the car right there. Like I said, don't touch that center nut. Don't ever, ever, ever touch that center bolt unless you're going to take this spring off, because if you do, the whole thing's going to go off like a rocket up there. So let me get in there and get on that, and we should be able to drop this thing out. And you know, that's kind of a sad state of affairs when the doggone strut assembly is $200+ for it, and it's held in by 3 bolts. You can just take it out right here in your driveway. That ain't fair, man. Alright, let me get going on that. Okay, I removed my 2 nuts in there, and of course I dropped one of them somewhere. I have to find it. Here's one of them. And so that's all there is to this top part of it to take it out. You just need to be careful with those fuel lines in there. Don't be ramming your hand or anything in there, jostling those things loose or whatever. Just used a regular old 3/8 ratchet and a short socket. So now then, I'm going to go under here and let me see, I'm going to grab my little small tripod. I'll be back in a minute. I'll turn the camera off. Okie dokie. let's get under and see if we can get this old one out. Got my two retaining nuts up top taken out already. I've got this one loosened. This is a 17 again. Make sure I ain't got my leg in the way. I don't think you can ever do this with the wheel on. So, okay, that's what happened with the other one. So, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go up and I'm gonna loosen those two. I'll show you. Oops. I'm gonna loosen these two nuts there on this. I guess this is sort of a, I don't know, it's adjustable. What do you call, what's the word for that? I don't know if it's called a panhard rod or what it is exactly, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can do this without this camera falling over again. Three-legged tripod, I don't think that's a really good idea, but there we go. Same as the other one. I don't know the way that's designed. It just lets it fall whenever you take the pressure off of that. So, let's see if I got you in the screen. Yeah. Okay, it's kind of paying attention down here at the bottom which way this thing is oriented. So if you look at it, this you can see on the edge of the screen here, but this bushing is down on the outside. It's kind of like that. So we're gonna lose. All right, it's not bad. All right, you gotta, somebody's taken that sensor's supposed to be mounted to the top of this, and it's got like a little, I guess like almost looks like a Schrader valve in there, and that thing I guess rotates and it's supposed to adjust the valving and the well, I say the valving, I mean the damping of the shop, but we're gonna abandon that for right now because if it wasn't on there, it wasn't working anyway. So anyway, this one, you can see it's the boots come apart on it. This shock has got, you can see in there, it's got a whole bunch of oil on it. So that's generally that's a good indication that it's blown. So anyway, I was telling you, well, yeah, when you put this back in, put it in so that the outside, like this bushing is kind of slanted down towards the outside of the car on this side. So, all right, let's get a new one and go ahead and put it in. Going to face out, the writing on the strut tube is going to face towards the outside, and there's little paint marks and stuff. The strut doesn't look like much, but it's not leaking oil. So, and like I said, this one was $25 versus $200 for a new one, so we're going to roll with this one as long as it lasts, and then maybe at that point we'll pony up for the real deal. La 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 la. La la la. I can't exactly see what I'm doing here. Let's see. La 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 la. La 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 la. You can look, you got a little kind of an access. There we go. Port right there, you can look in there and see. Yeah, that ain't happening. So okay, I'm gonna have to come up with a one-man band idea here to keep this strut held up. So I'll rejoin you when I figure out what I'm going to do about that. See you in a minute. Okay, that was my redneck strut shock holder upper idea, and I didn't put hardly any force on that. All I did was I just lifted that thing up until it went in the correct two holes up there where it belongs, and then I just jacked the bottle jack up under it to hold it while I went up top side and put those nuts in. So that's a running joke there, isn't it? So never fails to get laughs. So what I'm going to do now is I got to get that thing over this mounting stud right there. So I'm going to take my bottle jack out. That strut won't fall, it's bolted in right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my, you wouldn't believe the use I get out of these things, these pry bars, and I'm going to put in up here, there's a right up here there's a good solid cast iron, cast steel piece. I'm just going to pull down on it carefully, slip it on. There you go. And put your bolt in, and you can tighten that up at your leisure. So there we go, guys. That is essentially it. The only other thing that I saw that I think is going to make a little bit of messing around with in here is this bar, panhard bar, whatever you want to call it. That thing is moved a little bit. If you, well, helps if I show it. You see it's got where it slides right there, and you see it looks like it's kind of moved over to the right. The bolts are where that shock plate is. So I'm going to kind of fool that, and that essentially needs to, ideally needs to be back where it was. So probably just take a little bit of pulling and tightening and stuff like that to get it back where it goes, and then tighten everything up to make sure you tighten your two top retaining nuts up here at the top, and then the 17 at the bottom. Make sure it's tight. And up here for sure in there, that plate can get out of position, but so make sure that it's under those two nuts. You can barely see them in there, but it's got to be under those, not to the side or anything. So it's okay then. And really, after this car needs, I'm sure, a four-wheel alignment anyway, but after changing the struts, this car's got four-wheel independent suspension. It ideally needs to be taken for an alignment, so I'll do that pretty soon. So if you got any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you got any complaints, keep them to yourself. So I will tune in again on another project down the road. See you guys. Thanks for watching. Alright then, I've given this thing the push test since I got it back down on the ground, and I think we're good to go. So I'm glad I had to have that job done, but it's really easy. As far as struts go, it could be a lot worse. And I'll tell you something, I've been sitting here working on this thing, and I've been breathing the worst smell over here you ever believe, and it's coming off. Let the camera figure out what it's going to do here. Come on, there you go. It's coming off the tires off that new utility cart I assembled and put in here. I was going to take it to the junkyard over there, but that junkyard has gotten to be such a hellhole over there, that one out in the country, that there's no use even taking it. You can't even get to the cars. I couldn't get a strut off of one of those cars. I had to go to another junkyard. So there that thing sits. But it's got, man, that's coming like I said, that smells like creosote, and it's off those damn tires on there. And of course the whole thing comes from China. The tires got made in China right on the side of them, and that's what that is. But I'll tell you something, good heaven's sakes, if those people over there got to breathe stuff like that producing those tires and stuff, I feel bad for them. No wonder you see the pictures of, you know, Beijing and different places over there in China, and they got this horrible smog, and the people have to wear those masks all the time. My gosh. You know, they're trying to be a superpower, but if we're going to be, let's try to bring your emissions stuff into the 20th century, 21st century. But that thing's got to get out of that car. I can't drive the car with it like that. Oh, by the way, this will be another video, but looks like I get to do a do-over on the fuel pump on this car. I did that video a few months back about doing the pre-pump on here, which is that's the one in the tank, it's not the one under. And there they go, the Ultima squad. All the residents here drive Ultimas. Anyway, it's the one in the tank, and so I was driving yesterday. I was coming back from somewhere, and I was down below about half a tank, and I stopped at a red light, and sure enough, for the next half a block, my top speed was about 5 miles an hour. So I somehow managed to whip around, make a U-turn on this big street I was on, and got back to a gas station to put gas in it. Of course, it runs fine now. So I guess what's probably happening under there is that fuel line that's on the fuel pump goes between the pump and the pickup tube. It's probably burst, because I was looking at that thing when I put it in there, and I didn't like the looks of it. I mean, it was new, but it didn't look like, you know, you got to have submersible fuel line. You can't just put fuel injection line, standard fuel injection line in a gas tank. It has to be, I think the code is 3R10. So that's probably what happened. It either burst or it slipped off, popped off, or something happened, but it's whatever it is, it's in that tank. So I guess I'll get to do it again. And this time that damn hose is $28 a foot, and the fuel pump was only like 30 something though. So that's why I figured they didn't put the right hose in there, the cheap bastards. So I'll fix it again. So that's another video. Thanks guys, have a good one.